I am Roniel,
I'm DaRon.
and I always have to say, DaRon, did you see anything interesting this week? Because I got to tell you, I've seen some interesting stuff, but have you seen anything interesting this week?
I was actually off hunting.
Oh, did you catch anything?
Unfortunately, this time, no, nothing was moving anywhere. So
Oh man, they knew you were coming. They ran.
that's right. That's
Oh
right.
man, they knew the demon was coming. So they had to get out of the way. So yeah, maybe you could be more quieter that way, and don't show your mutt side so people can't see the mutt out of you. Come out of you,
That's
man.
right. They can smell the mutt from a mile away, and they don't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
dogs.
yeah. Hey, I wasn't even thinking of dogs. I was thinking of something a little bit, away from the dogs portion. But hey, we all, it's a doggy dog world. So
That's true.
everybody likes dogs. But uh, I guess I didn't while you were hunting, I was actually watching some very interesting shows. There's some new shows coming out or that has come out on Netflix. And I also watched something on HBO Max, which was Dune. That was very good to me. I think it was better than the first one. Like I said, I had issues with the visions. When you guys see it, you can let us know down in the comment section what you felt about the Dune movie. If you have saw it, if you haven't, then definitely there will be no spoilers here. But it's just talking about this fact that it was going in and out, and the way that the directing it kind of threw me off a little bit. And some people probably who haven't seen it probably don't know what the hell is going on. So go back and watch the first movie, but the first movie was shitty. So I don't know how much that would help your interpretation of this one. Uh,
That's so true. Everyone holds the first one in such high. So I read the books as a little child, and that includes. I think I mentioned before. I went all the way up to Children of Dune, and
mhm.
Children of Dune had way too much incest and way too much weirdness going on. And I was like, there are only so many times I can hear you talk about how hot your sister looks to you, and I
Uh,
stopped there.
oh man, you wonder if people who were writing these things were putting their true feelings out in the books.
I've always wondered. It's
Yeah.
weird stuff. Weird stuff.
Again, I had this debate, and they say there's this saying that R. Kelly is a genius, and
Yeah.
I'm going back to the incest thing because he literally been doing this for years, and he was singing about it, and nobody did a damn thing. And people have been writing incestive things and nasty shit in books for years, and nobody has said anything about it.
That's actually an interesting and very valid point. I think a lot of times people wind up just brushing it off or thinking, "Oh, this is just, the author being artistic." But does beg the question, are they being artistic or are they really telling you their true desires? I don't know.
I mean, Tom and Jerry, come on now. Did anybody
Yeah.
really catch on to what Tom and Jerry was really about?
Uh,
What about Bugs Bunny? And I mean, there are some things in there. Like if you really pay attention, you're like, don't watch Beavis and Butthead, don't watch Red and Skippy, don't watch none of these things. But we're watching the most PG-13 X-rated shit that they're not telling you that you think is cool, but they really some shit behind there. There's some meaning. So yeah.
a great example of that being the Lone Ranger. If you listen to the Lone
Yeah.
Ranger, the interaction between him and Tonto is
Are you saying it's like a Brokeback Mountain?
yes,
Oh
yes,
God.
yes. Well, and actually, if you listen to the old time radio shows, they have so much suggestive language, and you knew they knew what they were doing when they did that. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's like Batman and his young
Oh
ward.
man. Oh man, you sure that Batman didn't have any excessive stuff going on with Robin?
Yeah,
Right,
he
and
and
he
Robin.
definitely
That
took him
was.
under his wing.
Yeah,
Now you
that
see why Robin had problems.
now we see why Robin had problems. That's it is funny. We do sometimes. Yeah, that, I don't know. I have high hopes for this Dune movie. I want to see it this weekend. I haven't yet, but I played. There was in the early 1990s, or maybe it was the mid 1990s. There was a Dune video game that was a lot of fun. I don't know if you ever played it, but You they redid it a couple of different times, and then there was Dune 2000, which I also really enjoyed. But I don't know. It's I have high hopes, but I also I also don't think it will pan out. So
Um, yeah, I haven't played the game. I'm sorry, I was looking at the different movies that's coming out this week. I haven't played the game, but like I said, I'd had read the book just a little bit. I'm not really into reading a lot of books because they start to bore me after a while. You literally, I was like, just get to the point.
yeah.
So sometime it like I guess Harry Potter because I was forced to read that in high school. Uh, I started to gain a liking in the books, but then it just got kind of strange after a while.
You
So
hmm. Well, you may or may not enjoy. So Tad Williams and Timothy Zahn are both fantastic authors. Now, Timothy Zahn is the jackass who brought Star Wars back, and I say jackass because I don't like Star Wars. I know, I know. Perish the thought. Someone who doesn't like Star Wars. I'll admit it. I like Star Trek.
yeah, uh, uh, have you ever heard anybody say that the Death Star was in Star Trek?
I have not, thankfully, but I have heard people make similarly bad statements where they conflate the two.
That's how you know that somebody's trying too hard.
Yeah,
Like, please don't get it wrong. Like, I like Star Trek and Star Wars, and I'm a big fan of both of them. But when you say shit like that, I really have to question your knowledge or whether you actually look at these movies or
right.
any of that stuff. Like, don't do it. Don't embarrass yourself, man.
That's
Don't do
exactly
that.
right. That's exactly right.
But anyways, those are some of the movies. I think the movies that are coming out this week, if anybody's interested, and maybe I don't think they're really that great. Antlers. I don't really know what the hell that is. The French Dispatch. I don't know what the hell that is. Last night in Soho. Uh, looks very uh
Rom-com.
pornographic, but it looks like it also looks like you remember that what was that movie? Was it Sin City? Not Sin City. What was the one movie that I forgot who did it, but it was like a detective movie and it was in all black and white. I think Quentin Tarantino might have had a part in that.
I know what you're talking about, that noir stuff, but I don't remember what the movie was called.
I'm gonna come back to it and then I can mention it out, but I can't remember. That's what it kind of looks like. So if you guys are interested in any of that, definitely go check it out. If you like any of those things, please comment down below about some of the movies that you're interested in. However, today's topic that we're going to get to is a very interesting topic, and it may help some people out there that are struggling to get into this field. So we want to definitely talk about how to get into the field and how to be successful in the field without being a white hat. As DaRon will always tell you, don't be a white hat.
Don't be a white hat. Dead
So
serious.
from your experience, DaRon, can you tell the people like how you were successful, how you got into the field, and how you became successful in it, and how to stay successful in the field?
After I wound up being trained to be a system administrator and a network administrator, I did a lot of maintenance and stuff like that. After that, I wound up going to college, and I got a computer science degree, which I'm going to tell you first and foremost is an absolute positive requirement. You cannot get around having electrical engineering or a computer science degree or something really closely related, not computer engineering and
Oh
not
man,
CIS.
see guys, he's the hater. He hates on computer engineering. What's up? All my computer engineers, please flame him down in the comment section because he does not see computer engineering as a valid engineering principle, and I'm not going to debate whether it is or not. So you guys don't have to hate me. You can hate DaRon, but in this case, it's better if you're a network engineer, right? Or is it not?
Yes, I did that as well. Is it better? It depends. I would say
Is
the
it
network
really engineering?
architect is better. No, not really.
Okay.
No,
That
your network architects are significantly better.
Okay. Would you consider that the same way? And then we'll get back to the topic with security architecture versus network architecture. I mean, or just net security engineers.
That's actually a good question. I would say honestly, in security, I don't think they should be divided up. You can't do one and then the other, and as two distinct, separate things. And that I think is one of the biggest issues with security in general. Is there seems to be this desire to divide it up into a million different functions, but security needs to be properly integrated across the board, both within security, but also within the greater engineering development, maintenance, system life cycle, whatever that happens to be. And so by splitting off security engineering, security architecture, by splitting off network security from application security, from system security, from this minutia, that minutia, what you wind up having is a bunch of different clouds and clusters that don't talk, don't work together. Management doesn't force them to be a team, so they butt heads the whole time, and you wind up missing a lot of things, vulnerabilities, but also you wind up missing signs of intrusion, et cetera, because they are not working together. They are not talking together.
They all should be in one as a unit.
They should.
Um, that like when we were at Highland, there was
Mhm.
like multiple different security teams that never
Yes.
talked to each other. And I'm like, I didn't even know there was an internet security team, and then there's the infrastructure security team, and then there's an AppSec team, and then there's another security team. What the hell? Like,
Yeah.
what are they private? They're private teams? Like, what the hell are they? Do they do something we don't know about?
Yeah, that's
Because
exactly
really, a
right.
lot of them didn't do security.
No. No, and this is similar to the whole, well, there's offensive security and defensive security. Well, you can't defend if you can't do offensive stuff. And you can't do offensive stuff adequately if you also can't defend. It is too tightly intertwined, and there is no way to separate them. But actually, to your point, and I'm sure your story is relatively similar. I've done everything there is in IT, and I think that's if you're going to be successful in security, you can't start in security. You have to start somewhere else
Yep.
because you have to understand the struggles of system administrators, database administrators, network administrators, your architects. You have to understand the struggles of your development teams. Otherwise, you more likely than not will not have sufficient knowledge and understanding to give proper mitigations and remediations for various vulnerabilities, nor will you be able to make proper decisions or provide proper guidance. And I know you've seen that. I've seen that numerous times as a contractor, as a consultant, and of course, as a company man working for a given organization. If if you do not have a well-rounded background across IT, you will not make a good security person.
I think that's people. I think that's something that people fail to realize or even touch bases on. What makes me so good at what I do is the fact that I've done everything, and it was just it sounds crazy because when people look at my resume, like you jump from job to job, I guess it was a blessing because if I didn't have that experience, I would not have been as good as I am today. Being when the recession hit in 2008, I kind of was jumping around from place to place trying to get a job and just do something.
Yeah.
And finally, I did everything you can think of. I took jobs that the name title was stupid, like scribe. I don't know what the hell a scribe is, but I turned into an IT engineer and was working with VoIP. So I know how all the VoIP systems work. Then, I've already had an engineering background. So I was doing electronic engineering. I was on the engineering team. I was an engineering technician. I built all the circuits and different things for medical devices, everything on down you can think of. Uh, did all of that surface mount stuff, everything. Then moved on to help desk and development and everything. So I had been everywhere: network, system administration, network technician, all of that. I've been involved in the whole full circle. So that kind of gave me an idea of what I could do and how things work. And then you also look at when you look at some of these companies, how vulnerable and why they're still vulnerable, they still use old shit as it is. Like even their network structure, it's still old. They have legacy shit that they haven't even updated. Even some of these hospitals, oh my God, that will just be mind blowing how
Hospitals are
they're
some of the
still
worst.
horrible.
Yeah.
One thing mess up, they're all down. And if
Yeah.
you've seen a freaking switch closets,
Yeah.
imagine being down with when your best friend are roaches.
Yeah.
That's a horror story from being in the switch closet. Horror stories from the switch closet. And seeing your network engineers who were, by the way, I've seen a ton of network engineers that don't do a lot of shit. They sit in the switch closet and sleep all day and just wait for somebody to call them. That used to piss me off so much, being a network technician or an IT engineer, and I'm going in a job, but I'm cleaning up and doing his job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I'll say it's unfortunately common with system administrators as well, database administrators. A lot of your admins, they can be incredibly boring jobs because nothing's going on most of the time, at least once you get it all set up. And so you've got a lot of these people who give it a bad name. And if you're doing something like Windows is so ridiculously easy anyway. I'm sorry, but Windows administrators it's a joke. But then on the networking side, it's you set the configuration and you walk away.
You mean to tell me that you don't have to know about X VLAN and VLANs and whatever the fuck? You got to know all these different protocols and set up this, and you got to know how to set up your mesh topology and all of this shit. You got to make sure this is right. You mean to tell me all I got to do is set a configuration and walk away?
I'll tell you, actually, one of the things I liked the most. So I had to take CCNA, and we did all the training through Cisco's Network Academy. And back then, IP version 6 was just beginning. No one had switched over to it, not even Asia. They were the first. And it was funny because they sat there, oh, you're going to have to learn this. The United States is going to switch over by 2010, so you have something like a decade or so to learn this and all this other craziness. I just want to point out we still haven't switched over.
What? Wow. So we did all that and we still haven't switched over.
Still haven't switched over. It has been literal decades and we still haven't switched over. These things are so slow, they take so long, and it goes back to what I said. You set the configuration and you walk away and you don't touch it. It's not hard to dual home and it's not hard to set up IP version 6. It's just most internet service providers in the United States, especially, I mean, why would they? Their customers on the corporate side don't ever do it because, well, I don't need it. Why would I need to set up IP version 6 on my internal network? And some people would say, oh, but it gets rid of the NAT and all of this other stuff, and supposedly single point of failure disappears, but it doesn't disappear because your single point of failure at the end of the day is still going to be your router mesh, whatever your point of service mesh happens to be. It could be firewalls or whatever gets it, your modem. There's something that's going to be it. Well, but we have 2 lines coming in. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. Good for you. But you didn't eliminate anything because you tied them all together through one modem or through one router or through 2 routers that aren't configured right, so they don't fail over well. And your, BGPs to all this other crazy stuff. I will tell you, where all of that stuff came in use wasn't doing, it was consulting and contracting. That's where it's come in use. CCNA stuff as a network administrator, no. Network administration is so much easier than that. Network engineering in general is so much easier than that. It wasn't until I had to sit there and do consulting and contracting that it was actually useful.
So are you saying that shook my ego here? Are you saying that this was a sales pitch? Are you saying that it was really useful as a consultant to sell that to people so they can actually implement it, or just with a sales pitch? Because it sounds like a finesse pitch.
I plead the fifth.
Ha! All right. Anyway, moving along, just so you guys know, I say that just to say because a lot of people will sell you, and that goes back to certification. My biggest thing was saying that is that you get all these stupid certifications and they don't really give you shit. Yeah, they may give they may tell your employer that, hey, spend time doing this, we should pay him more money. But a lot of times you can get all these certifications and still don't know a goddamn thing and still can't even implement the things that you learned there because a lot of them are outdated.
And most certifications don't give you much, if any, boost in pay.
Yeah, they don't. And a lot of them are CTF based,
Mm-hmm.
which CTFs are not realistic.
Right.
I have not, if I have this, the person who set this up was horrible, but I have not seen a successful CTF in the wild.
Yeah.
That I could just be like, oh, this was just like doing a CTF. I have not. Okay. If you have seen a client like that, that's probably mean that they did not know what they were doing and they were just horrible configuring everything. But nowadays, you know, CTFs are great to have fun with, but they're not great as a tool to use for, you know, real life experience. So if you really want to get experience, the best way to do it is to play, get your hands dirty, and create your own environment. Start implementing. If you want to really learn how some of these viruses are being done, reverse engineer them, take them apart. Same thing with hardware. Take it apart. Learn how they do everything. Read the schematics. Read the specifications. Learn how everything works so you can break it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There are a lot of free environments where you can host your own virtual machines, create your own virtual network, and then you can play and have some fun. And better to play in Linux than it is to Windows, because Linux is more intricate and you'll learn a hell of a lot more. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is they restrict themselves. And that is my biggest complaint against white hats beyond the hypocrisy is white hats restrict themselves. They handicap themselves. Oh, I can't do this because of XYZ, the terms of service, because I can't do this because they don't have vulnerability disclosure process or a bug bounty program. You don't need that to play with something, to look at something, to decompile it. That is not a requirement for any of those things. It's, curious people do curious things, and that's how you learn, and it's the only way you're going to grow. You have to get that foundation through computer science, electrical engineering, or something else.
What we're saying with computer science is it's a vast array of things that you learn that will set you up for this field.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Gives you a good foundation, and then you can add to that foundation because there are other courses. Like I took, for instance, a computer hardware security course, which was pretty dope in the hardware portion. But you get to play. If you don't have these type of courses, you won't even know how to read and reverse engineer some applications because they're going to be in assembly language. So again, as DaRon was saying, computer science should be your base foundation in order to be able to be in this field.
And it needs to be a good program.
But let me say that back. It doesn't have to be Case Western Reserve. Doesn't have to be the most prestigious because, again, as I learned, it doesn't really fucking matter. Nobody cares a lot of times where you come from.
No, it just needs to be solid. Not big name. Big name doesn't necessarily mean solid. I paid $30,000 for my entire college. It's 30,000 for my entire college, and that was through a state college.
It's me here. I went to Cleveland State, so
I went to Colorado State, and a fantastic computer science program.
I think the Cleveland State program was pretty good, and then the fact that I could add things to it, which was the reason why I took at the time they had CIS, which is not computer information systems. computer information science, it allowed me to add more, because in the regular computer science, they would not allow me to add different outside of computer science. And it was weird. But it was just a computer science degree that allowed me to concentrate on other shit. That's it. So I did all the same shit, except I was able to take, I could take an electrical engineering concentration and then get 2 degrees.
Got it.
So that's all that allowed me to do. And it was the best course that you can get there, because the computer science one, they had strictly, you can only stick with this. You can't go outside of it. And I wanted, for security, I wanted courses that involve security courses. So again, he's correct. But you will have some that have CIS, and it's not CIS, meaning computer information system. So if you're taking that, then fine. Maybe that is for you. But just keep in mind that you're going to be a help desk person in the end, and not an actual, engineer or software engineer or anything of that nature. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And computer science is going to be hard. And if you can't cut it, then go to CIS. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and to that point, so CIS, like you said, you're going to be help desk. You might be a Windows administrator or maybe a database administrator. That's about it. You certainly won't be a Linux administrator. Your pay is not going to be great, especially relative to the rest of the IT world. And you get paid significantly more for computer science or electrical engineering or something like that than you do CIS, considerably more. What I will tell people is definitely, no matter what, do not, and we've said this before, do not get a degree in computer security, cybersecurity, information security, or anything like that. All of those degree programs are terrible. They're bad. I would never hire someone with one. I'm going to just be clear here. I will not hire people. If that is all you have degree-wise, I won't hire you, because it's way too high level, and security is not an entry-level position. So people always talk security. What's the general base pay for most people in security? What's the start pay?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The base that I've seen for security will be $50,000. That was the base pay. If you have some experience, it's roughly 60, 65,000 that I've seen. If you are experienced like DaRon over here, then the sky is the freaking limit. But I'm talking about people that I've seen come in with the least amount of experience, but they have a degree. Your base pay is going to be $50,000 to $65,000. That's what I've seen on average.
So I'm guessing you must be including the threat analysts and people like that.
Oh, are we talking about the people at a high level?
I'm talking about real security, not.
He said you guys who do threat analytics and stuff like that, you are not real security.
It's not security. Man. You read logs all day. Don't lie to me.
No. Oh, man. I started off reading logs all day, and that was the most shit ever.
But it is. You do learn a lot. Well, you learn something, but it's not security.
That I notice, and again, it all depends, you're going to be $80,000 and up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so it attracts a lot of people because they see that high salary. And the truth is, the reason why it's so high is because it's not a real entry level position. While it's entry for the field, it's not entry. It's because the assumption is you've already done at least 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in something else. Like I said, network administrator, not database administrator. It needs to be bigger than that. System administrator, something of that nature. And that's where most people get wrapped around the axle, is they want to get into security because of the pay, but what they don't realize is it's not entry level. Now, where you get hosed is where they say this is an entry level security position. You have to have network administration or whatever experience, plus you also have to have security experience. Because you might ask yourself, well, how the hell do I get that? If this is entry level, I can't gain entry to an entry level position because I don't have experience. How do you get experience if you can't get in an entry level position? And the answer is you have to know how to play what you've already done into security. You have to understand how, if you're a good system administrator, if you're a good network administrator, if you're a threat analyst, something like that, tie that into security. Yeah, I did say it that way. Don't give me that face.
All right. Well, then while we're tying that in, I have to say for the people that are security researchers. So I want to say this because that means that you're calling out everybody that as who are making top money as security researchers. So you have security researchers.
Top money as a security researcher. What is that? $5 an hour?
It may be a little bit more than that. It might be $7 an hour, $8 an hour. I know some people that's making in the six figures that are security researchers doing, and I don't understand this. So I'm asking you, DaRon. This is ask DaRon and he tells you. Okay. So I know security research, and I just seen it. I'm like, as a security researcher, I think you would be doing research on vulnerabilities, finding vulnerabilities that are in products. But I'm saying that it's not that. It's more of a threat. All right. I'm doing threat indications. I am looking for patterns. I am reversing malware and putting in patterns on that to write up a report about, and the things and the trends that we're sending. How is that not the same thing as a threat analyst? Even though they're reading logs all day, ain't that the same shit?
It is.
You add all that together. So why are they getting paid six figures to do security research when, to me, that's just researching a malware analysis, which anybody can do. My grandma could do that right now if she was still here.
It's true. And to your point, you know what really happened was a group of individuals was smart enough to recoin a term so that it sounded fancy. You hear the term researcher and you're like, well, researchers make a lot of money, so these guys should make a lot of money. The term has been hijacked. Security researchers, a lot of people would tell you, I am a security researcher, because it's what you described.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly looking at new products, looking for new vulnerabilities, new kinds of vulnerabilities, new ways to do exploitation, new ways to do the defense side, things of that nature. And then there's the other side that hijacked the term. It feels like it's actually relatively recent, maybe 7 years ago. They started hijacking that term, and the threat analyst position or malware analyst position is the exact same thing, just repackaged. And somehow they still managed to command a decent salary. And now, I just want to point out, when I joke about salaries, it's not to insult anyone who isn't making a lot of money. Your worth is not based on your money. Your worth is actually based on what you contribute to society. I just don't think threat hunters contribute. I'm joking.
Hey. I used to be in that realm, but like I said, I've always been. So I research all the time. I'm always picking with new products and trying to find different ways to hack them. But I would consider myself a security researcher, but at the same time, when I go to look for things or used to look for things like that, it was always, oh, you had to, like, I do malware analysis. I do that. That's just for fun. That's easy. But as security research, that's not the thing I think of. I'm searching on new malware and then trying to put up defenses for it, like writing policies. I mean, that's something a malware analyst would do.
Yeah.
So how is that different? Like, what is a security researcher doing that's different from a malware analyst? And why aren't the malware analysts getting paid the same amount if they're doing the same stuff?
Yeah, that's your SOC responsibility. That's not security research. And realistically, like, even the whole threat hunting, when I started in this field in IT, it was the system administrator's job to read their damn logs.
Yep.
It was the network administrator's job to read their logs. And you know what? They don't usually make that much money anyway. So it's not like companies somehow manage to save huge amounts of money by pushing this to your threat hunters. And most threat hunters have a high school education. Maybe they have an AA, an associate's degree. Usually they don't actually have any kind of 4-year degree or above. It is a very entry-level position, but it's not even entry-level security. It's just entry-level IT. And part of the reason why they started doing that was they said, well, we need to see the big picture. So your threat hunters are going to look at the big picture. The problem is they have absolved your system administrators, network administrators, application administrators, so on and so forth, from doing their job, which is reading logs. This is why I cast aspersions on threat hunting. It's not actually because what you do isn't valuable. It's because what you do should be already getting done by someone else. And what should happen is there should be a group, which would be the SOC, who is supposed to get bubbled up reports, and then they do the big picture through big data analysis, which, you know, has been around forever. We just didn't give it a big fancy term. And from there, you can generate what all is going on. There is no reason to have a group of people who do nothing more than read these logs, because I'm sure you noticed this. When you know nothing about the system or the application and all you're doing is looking at logs, how much can you actually derive from the logs?
Not a lot.
Not
If
a
you
lot.
don't know nothing about it, you can derive shit.
Right.
You really have to know a lot about not only the application, the network, how everything flows. And to be honest, it takes, and I'm just being honest, roughly, unless you're really good, it's going to probably take that person 2 years to really get an understanding of this whole ecosystem that they're in order to be able to understand it. If you were really good, then it may not take you that long to really understand, but that's having that curiosity, that curious mind. When I was working for a company, I was doing threat hunting, but I was a security engineer and I did everything. And I felt like it was more of like the people were lazy. So they did the system administrators were kind of like the DevOps. They move into that area where they were doing more DevOps stuff than their actual job. So the security engineers took on the role of security admin, where they did administrative work, where we did all the administrators' job, plus, you know, threat hunting and all this other shit in designing. Like all the stuff I felt like I did was a system administrator job.
Yes.
And that's really what it was.
Yes. And it's typical scope creep. And what we see is in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there was a big push in most organizations for the chief information officer, the CIO, to take as much work from all the other organizations within that company or department, agency, whatever it happens to be, and suck it under their realm, under the hope that the funding would come with it, which it usually didn't. So if it had to do with IT, well, now it's under the CIO, right? If it has to do with this, it's under the CIO, and that includes things like the physical security cameras and badge readers and all of this other crazy stuff. But the funding didn't come, first of all, and neither did the expertise necessarily with it. But even if those things still came, it was too big and too much, and it became a monolithic bureaucracy. And if you do any software development, you know monolithic code is never a good thing. Well, neither are monolithic organizations and monolithic structures. And we see the same thing. Security has been trying to do the same thing for a decade and a half. And that's why they took threat hunting from the system administrators, from the admins. The admins should have been doing all of that work. But that's why they took it. And they're like, well, we're going to read all your logs for you, so you don't have to. That was IT security trying to get that funding. But the funding didn't come with it. And so you only have a few people. They're very low paid. Their eyes glaze over because they get, it's called log blindness. It's a real thing. And they don't understand the systems. They see, oh, this was a SQL injection attempt and it threw a 500 or it returned with 200. You don't know if that means the injection was successful. You don't know how the system is supposed to behave. Your system administrator probably doesn't even know, but your application administrator does. But regardless, your system administrator has enough that they should be able to put together the puzzle pieces and say, this is a problem or this isn't a problem. But the issue is you have this group of people who don't understand the environment, and they are making decisions and supposedly watching over, but they don't actually know what's going on. They have no clue. And so they can't actually tell when something's occurring. They can't actually tell when something isn't occurring. And all they're doing is making a whole bunch of random guesses and hoping they're right. Incident response then comes busting down doors because, heaven help us, security always has to act like they're the big dog in the house when they're doing anything. And then a system gets taken and it doesn't come back and they don't hear a report. And And then maybe they get their system back, but they still don't know what happened. They still don't know whether or not the compromise is successful. And I mean,
So this is where it becomes a bad thing. I have to tell this that now that you're saying this, and I didn't realize this until after 5 years into it, yet it was like that.
mhm,
Um, and you had somebody. This is why I say when you have a specialty where you could do everything, you kind of get logged, you get set into doing everything. I didn't realize in 5 years I was at this company that I was doing everything.
yeah,
I mean, I was the system administrator. I read the system. I read logs all day, and log blindness is the very thing. I mean, that shit was terrifying. I read the firewall logs. I was in damn near a network administrator. I did network administration as well. Even with the systems I managed, I had the servers that I managed. I set them up. I managed them. This was not my supposed to be my job. This should have been a network administrator job to set up these servers. I
mhm,
set them up, managed them, make sure they were secure. And anything happened, I was the incident response person. Anything that happened on any system, I was the incident response person. I was the malware analyst. I was threat hunter. I was a pen tester, a web app pen tester, application administrator. I did LDAP administration. I did Samba administration. I mean, hell, the system administrator, the guy that's sitting next to me, and he wasn't doing none of this. All he did was set up Jenkins servers. I set that up too. Jenkins servers, anything the DevOps, anything application wise, he set it up in DevOps. It was like a DevOps team. You might as well just call them DevOps. I was the system administrator, everything. But when it came to really working with the firewall, the firewall itself, no, they didn't want you to touch that. But you know everything about it,
yeah,
even more than the network engineer that they don't know. And I would know when they fucked up and had an open port open,
mhm,
and we were getting traffic from China or Korea, and they're sending shit out. They wouldn't even know that. And I
yeah,
would say, we're not supposed to have this open. Why is this open? And I'm like, you don't even know your shit better than I do because I see everything.
yeah,
I know everything, but it was just so bad because when people started leaving, we started getting more and more. It went all the way to security. We did
yes,
everything,
yes,
and it's not a good thing. Security should not do everything.
no,
They should have one focus. And as you were saying, that threat hunting, like I noticed, threat hunting is not security's job. That is goes back to system administration.
mhm,
That is what they do. They look at logs all day.
yeah,
Um, the firewall logs. That is not. I'm not saying that we can't look at some of those things, but that's really not our job. That is the network
yeah,
administrator's job. All of these different things like the security's getting, they're trying to take all this big, but you're just making it worse.
yeah,
And then now you have to bring in 24/7 monitoring from a SOC team like Binary Defense or something like that, or whatever the hell their name are. Uh, but you have to bring them in, and then that doesn't mean they can see everything as well, and they're doing the same thing that you're doing, that a system administrator should be doing, or a network administrator should be doing, but they get paid less.
yes. Yes, and I suspect a lot of this push was, at least in part, due to contracting, because for us, the more scope creep, the better. The more of your jobs we can take, the better, because that means we get paid more. That's how that works. The same is true with the consulting realm. And what you wind up seeing is, I'll give you a good example. When we were at a certain place, they brought in several different contract companies and had them analyze stuff and do this or that. The contractor looked at everything I had created and then flat out told my boss and her boss, I don't know why we're here. You guys have everything already. Why do you want us? And truth is, she just didn't like me. But but at the end of the day, they gave this big giant report because, of course, she and her boss pushed for them to still do stuff. And hey, they're not going to say no to money. They produced this big giant report, and they literally copied and pasted all of the stuff that I had created into the report. And that was the report. It was all my stuff copied and pasted in different sections, literal policies and procedures and mission statements and objectives that I had created, just copied and pasted. And contract companies will do this each and every time. And their whole goal at the end of the day is to get as much money. And that means they will do whatever it takes to include this scope creep, and it's good for them. And then companies apply that same philosophy, and you wind up going from security guy to security guy plus system administrator plus application administrator, so on and so forth. And the question becomes, what happened to conflict of interest? Who's watching you? Who's providing oversight?
You become God.
Yeah.
That was my biggest problem. I could do whatever. And if I had turned to the other side, I did everything you would not notice.
Yes.
And that was a big problem with a lot of this stuff. However, what it did give me the opportunity is it helped me learn how to do everything
Right.
really good, and how it worked, that when I went to do full-time job as a consultant or anywhere, I know how everything works.
Right.
You know, I know how things work, how to Active Directory. If you didn't know how it worked, how it's built, domain controllers and everything. Even in IT help desk, you learn about those things because you have to set some of these things up, especially mainframe. People still use mainframe.
Right.
What the hell? Like mainframes, I remember working back in PNC, and I had to at a help desk where I used to set up mainframes and shit and help them. Oh God, that was horrible. But anyway, what I'm saying is, this ties it in. All of these things, even though it's not a great thing, and you shouldn't, and in a lot of corporations you're going to get that, you still will get you'll be well rounded. You need to be, especially if you're going for application security. And because the quality of application security right now and where we're staying it's bad. There's not a lot of good quality people out there in AppSec, and they'll tell you that they're good, but they're not.
Yeah.
So to be really good, you have to have a well-rounded, knowledge of everything. So you have to have been and done at least everything in order to be good, or you'll end up, as DaRon always say, the usual. Mm-hmm. You'll be one of those people, and
you'll be a script kiddie because you're a white guy.
You'll be this guy that we know named Fish Boy, and you'll be another guy that we know that I don't know his name right now. What's the guy's name? Oh, man,
I can't say any of them because they're not appropriate.
Yeah,
all the ones coming to my mind are not appropriate.
Crab patties. You have Crab Patty that's basically script kiddie. So you'll see a lot of these different people out there that you'll notice that once you get in the field that it's not as it seemed, and you thought it was that, and your favorite hackers, your favorite people that you looked up to, this guy will crush your dreams, by the way, are not as they seem.
The frauds.
So, yeah.
They're all white.
He talked about one of them before. So
don't get me started.
The best advice is start with your foundation in computer science. Pick a good program. It doesn't have to be the most expensive college because you don't want to be in debt for the shit, but find a good foundation, stick with that. All right. Computer science, stick with it. Find some programs that are really good that may nurture you to security, and do not go with a security program. Go with computer science. And then all in all, once you do get your first step in the door, doesn't matter what it may be, it could be help desk, any of those things, start learning how the infrastructure, start learning how things work, get a good understanding. So that way, as you move along, once you get into the field itself, you'll be prepared for what comes with it.
Yes, that's exactly right. Diversity of experience is very important in this field. And the more experience you get, the more diverse experience you get, the better you will do. The more you play, the better you will do. But you, again, have to have that foundation. Everybody's a hacker when they're 12.
Yeah. Keep that same energy. If you were a hacker when you were 12, or a kid taking things, use that same curiosity here, and it will get you very far. Don't worry about the money. The money will come.
That's exactly right.
Have fun doing what you're doing. Like, play around, have fun with it, because this is the only field, and it could be others that I know of, that you can literally have fun doing what you love doing.
Yeah.
and enjoy it and get paid well. So
Yeah.
don't worry about the money. It will come. Just build on the foundation, because without a foundation, there is no tree. Without a root, there's no tree. Like,
Yeah.
you can't build all the branches and different areas and different things to stabilize the tree if you have no roots,
That's exactly
no
right.
foundation.
That's exactly right.
So with that being said, I am Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more comical episodes, for more things and movies and stuff that we like to talk about as well. And any more insight into the field or anything that you like or topics that we talk about. We'll have a lot of variety coming very soon. So please hit that notification bell to stay tuned with all of the new things that that's coming in the future. So until then, see you later.
Have fun.